Assalamualaikum. My name is Naila Muna binti Nafisli. Today I will present about the definition of tax. Tax means a money or property that individual and company are obligated to pay to the government. In other words, taxation means a compulsory payment that are imposed by the government to its people and use it for the development of the country. Tax is one of the most important sources for the most countries, including Malaysia, in order to support the country's economic and social development. In every country, the development plan is made up based on the tax revenue collected. If the country is lack or loss of the revenue, it will affect the development of the country. The tax method applied in the conventional economic system is imitating the rule of the zakat institution within the Islamic economic system, which is the sources of the surplus funds must be distributed productively to the needy. For the zakat, the fund will only distribute to 8 categories of asnaf, but for the tax it will distribute to all the community in the country. Next, I will present about the permissibility of tax. Based on the view of Imam Al-Ghazali, the government should not impose any tax on the people if the property in the government hand is adequate, which means if the government already have the fund for their development country, they should not impose the tax. But if the government fund does not enough and the Baitul cannot afford the expenses for the country development, government only can impose the tax on the rich just only to cover the government spending. And the government also should not impose the tax on the people at the higher rate. The tax rate that imposed on the people should be low. And next is the view based on the contemporary scholars. Some of contemporary scholars such as Sheikh Mahmud Shaitut, Sheikh Muhammad Al-Ghazali, Sheikh Abu Al-Ala Al-Maududi, Sheikh Dr. Yusuf Al-Qaradawi, and Sheikh Dr. Ahmad Al-Raisuni said that tax is a must, which is harus, but the government must ensure that its collection is fair and that its distribution must be targeted out for the ummah. The original source of this method is based on the proposition as stated in the Quran, which is, go forth whether the light or heavy, and strive with your wealth and your life in the cause of Allah. That is better for you if you only know. At Surah At-Taubah ayat 41, which means the Muslims are not only obligated to pay the zakat, but also required to withdraw their wealth for the jihad. In Muslim countries, the government has the right to collect the revenue through the zakat and taxation method. But if the government impose the tax, it must ensure that the policy is in the line with the principle of justice and does not burden any individual. That's it for me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Nur Kamarina binti Nur Amrilla. My matric number is 263817. I'm going to proceed regarding the history of taxation in Malaysia. As we know, Malaysia had a long and varied history of European colonization. The era of British colonial rule had a broad influence on Malaysia's growth, including the tax administration system. British first implemented an income tax in Tanah Melayu in 1799, quite different compared to what have been implemented in 1900 in terms of cultural sense. Today's Inland Revenue Board (IRB) or known as LHDN administer the direct taxes, while the Royal Malaysian Custom Department administer the indirect taxes. Since 2001, the income tax framework has become a self-assessment scheme. And on 1st April 2015, the Goods and Services or GST was introduced to replace the sale tax and services tax. But then on 16 May 2018, the government announced the abolishment of GST effective on 1st June 2018. The objective of this abolishment is to put more purchasing power in the hand of citizens, particularly the lower to middle income earners. Compliance management is not only about the audits, verify and enforcement. It is also about getting people to comply as easy as possible regarding the taxes things. A large portion of the tax authority's budget will be dedicated to delivering guidance and support, including publicity and awareness program and many more. Effective tax administration involves the setting up the atmosphere in which the citizens are persuaded to comply willingly with the tax law, while efficient tax administration allows this function to be done at the community's lowest cost. This is very crucial for Malaysia because it aims to become a fully integrated and united country by 2020, which is this year, which in effect requires an effective, well-designed and well-administered tax structure.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And my name is Nursa Sabila binti Muhammad Jamil. My metric number 265682. I'm going to proceed for the presentation regarding taxation system in Malaysia. So Malaysia is one of the countries that has its own taxation system. Malaysian tax are assessed on a current year basis under the self-assessment for all the taxpayers. All income accrued in derived from or remitted to Malaysia is liable to tax. This means any person other than a resident company carrying on the business of banking, insurance or sea or air transport derived from the sources outside Malaysia and received in Malaysia exempted from the tax. One thing worth mentioning in Malaysia has an extensive number of double tax treaties available for the avoidance of double taxation. In Malaysia, corporations are subject to corporate income tax, real property gains tax, goods and service tax, and etc. In other words, the resident and non-resident organization doing business and generating the taxable income in Malaysia that will tax an income accrued in or derived from Malaysia. The resident organization that carry out business or the sea or the transport, banking and insurance are taxable on the global income. There are exemptions for the resident banks, insurance companies, and takaful companies, which are subjected to specified conditions. The tax year or the basis period for a business usually follows the financial year ending in that particular year of assessment. For example, the basis period year for the year assessment 2020 for a business that closed its account on 31st December 2020 is the financial year ending with the 31st December of 2020. The basis period of a company, cooperative, and a trusted body is normally the financial year ending in that particular year. All income of the person, then a company, cooperative, or a trust body are assessed on a calendar year basis. Generally, the resident companies are taxed at the rate of 24%. In budget 2019, it is announced that the company with the paid-up capital of Rm 2.5 million or less will be subjected to the concessionary income tax rate of 17% for the first 500,000 of chargeable income. This has reduced the existing concessionary income tax rate from 18% to 17% for the first 500,000 of chargeable income. The reduction of tax rate comes into the effective year assessment of 2019. While in budget 2020, it is proposed that the first chargeable income, which is subject to the concessionary income for a tax rate of 17%, be increased from the first 500,000 to the first 600,000, and this concessionary tax rate is only given to a company which having a business income from one or more sources for the relevant year assessment of not more than Rm 50 million in addition. Next, for the tax collection. An estimate of a company's tax payable for a year assessment must be furnished by all companies to the Director General not later than 30 days before the beginning of the basis period, except for the following assumption. The first one, a newly established company with a paid-up capital of Rm 2.5 million from the year assessment and is less exempted from this requirement for 2 to 3 years of assessment, beginning from the year assessment in where the company commences operation to the subject conditions. Besides, the company commencing operation in a year assessment is not required to furnish an estimate of tax payable or make installment payment if the basis period of the year assessment in which the company commences operation is less than 6 months. So the tax is generally payable for the 12 equal monthly installment beginning from the second month of the company's basic period of the financial year. So the balance of the tax payable by the company based on the returns submitted is due to be paid by the due date for submission of the return.
Okay, I'm Nurul Salwani binti Muhammad Fauzi, matric number 261501. I will continue for the type of tax. Okay, basically the type of tax is divided into two, which are direct tax and indirect tax. For direct tax, it consists of income tax, land tax, real property gain tax, assessment tax, and stamp duty. The statutory body that impose direct tax is Lembaga Hasil Dalam Negeri, and for indirect tax, it consists of income and import and export tax, excise duty, sale and service tax, SST. And the government agency involved in managing indirect tax is Jabatan Kastam Diraja Malaysia. Okay, for first indirect tax, direct tax is first income tax. Tax that charged on individual income received in 1 year, the profitability of petroleum companies operating in Malaysia, and also cooperative companies. Taxation rate may vary by the type or characteristic of the taxpayer, and the tax rate may increase as taxable income increase. For the real property gain tax, form of capital gain tax that homeowner and businesses have to pay when disposing of their property, such as house, farm, vacant land. And if you decide to sell house, you have to pay tax on profit, and make sure pay within 60 days of the sale. But if you sell house a house with a loss, you don't have to pay any tax because you didn't make any profit. Okay, other tax is a land tax collected by the state government for property in Malaysia, and it is assessed per square foot of landed property. And for assessment tax, it is a local land tax collected by local council to pay for developing and maintaining local infrastructure and service, help to pay for the things like cleaning a park, lighting by the side of road, and other tasks that make for a well-maintained and pleasant place to live. Okay, last, stamp duty. Tax imposed on legal, commercial, and financial instrument. It is any written document, and the importance of stamp duty is a document must be properly stamped so that it can be accepted as evidence in court. For indirect tax, first import and export tax. Import duty is a tax imposed on certain goods imported from other country, and the second is for export tax. Export duty, it is a tax imposed on the exported good, and for excise duty, tax imposed on certain good imported into or manufactured in Malaysia, and the good are subject to excise tax is like sugary drink, liquor, motor vehicle, cigarette, and playing card. For the SST, it is enacted on September 1, 2018, replacing the GST on 2014. SST includes sales tax, which is a single stage tax imposed on imported and locally manufactured goods, and for the service tax, it is a tax charge on taxable service provided by any taxable person in Malaysia in the course and furtherance of business.
Hello, my name is Nushaira binti Muhammad. My metric number is 263805, and I will be presenting the rules, benefit, and objective of taxation in Malaysia. The main rules of taxation is the sources of income for Malaysian government. The tax will be drafted by the government before allocating it for the development of Malaysia. The collection of tax will be used in funding several projects like the development of the school and other infrastructure. In order to create a competitive country, the development must seriously taken into consideration to provide the basic needs. The second one is boost economy by financial fund injection by the government. When the economy slows down, government can inject the financial fund to boost back the economy in order to maintain economic growth. The benefit of taxation is strengthen our country's security. As we can see nowadays, our country in a peaceful situation because we are strong enough to eliminate the danger from threatening our country. The second one is contribution of the subsidies for the Malaysia. We can see that our education quality is among the best in the world because the tax is one the contributor in giving subsidies to the student, whether in the lower level of education like school until up level like PhD. Here is the objective of taxation in Malaysia. The first one is the sources of income for the country. Malaysia is a developing country whereby tax mostly come from the income are used for the country development in modern infrastructure. The second one is economic development. The taxation system is considered one of the medium in promoting economic growth for developing countries like Malaysia. Economic growth can grow fast by the encouragement of the taxation system. The third one is distribution wealth from the richer to poor. As we know, taxation is from the people who are accountable for paying the tax from their income. From it, the government can distribute the tax to the people who are in need and poor people. The fourth one is achieving full employment. The taxation system contributes to achieving the effectiveness of demand, which will increase the country goals to obtain full employment. Other than that, the objective of taxation in Malaysia is the price stability to control inflation from happening. This objective must be controlled moderately because the excessiveness and the deficiency will bring a bad impact on price stability, whether in inflation or deflation situation. In any country, the government cannot directly control a cyclical fluctuation, whether during the boom periods or the depression periods. By the taxation system, this can help the government to control the cycle fluctuation indirectly because this will help the government and the country itself to preserve its economy from facing a downturn. That's all from me.